Thank you for joining the Alien Probe Podcast. In popular culture, the term UFO or unidentified flying object refers to a suspected alien spacecraft. Although its definition encompasses any unexplained aerial phenomena, UFO sightings have been reported throughout recorded history and in various parts of the world, raising questions about life on other planets and whether extraterrestrials have visited Earth. They become a major subject of interest and the inspiration behind numerous films and books. Today we're joined again by Dr. Bill. How's it going, Bill?
Hey, how you doing?
Living the dream, brother. How's the weather out there?
It was chilly this morning, but now it's
What
absolutely beautiful.
what a chilly 72 degrees.
It was 63.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's nice.
No, now it's a lot better. It's in like the 80s, I think now. I have to look.
Still shorts weather.
Yeah, I don't do shorts as much anymore, just because of the sun. It's 75 right now.
Is it the sun? Well, that's
Actually, I shouldn't say that because in the really hot weather, you live in shorts. I mean,
is what about bugs? Is it a
mosquito.
problem?
We have. It's not where we live. It's swampy, and we have mosquitoes. So mosquitoes are a problem.
Yeah, that's I know my newfound sister's house. She's got like that enclosed pool
The
thing.
Linnea
Oh, it
on the
looks odd.
swimming
Is
pool.
that common? Is that like really common in Florida?
Every place had. The neighbors have it. If you have a pool, you have one. We actually, when we came down here, we looked at a house that didn't have one, but some neighborhoods, you get away from some of the built up areas in the neighborhoods. You don't have a big mosquito problem, but most houses have a Linnea to keep the mosquitoes out. Otherwise, you can't use your pool. And sitting out, I mean, if you're going out to work in the yard and stuff, I put bug spray on. I mean, it's a fact of life.
You put insecticide on your body. I'm just,
Yeah, I use what is it, DEET?
Oh yeah,
I bought a 100% DEET from REI
yeah.
years and years ago. I'm still using it because you only need a little bit.
So I want to give a shout out to Rich, who I don't use last names, but Rich commented on our last week's JFK assassination. He watched the episode, then commented and suggested that we check out Luis Elizondo, which I mentioned to you, and you said that guy's all over the place. And I've never, I've never
Oh, you
seen
have?
any, I have never seen anything about this guy.
He
So
had a show. He had a show called Unidentified on the History Channel about this stuff that he's been in the press now.
now,
And I watched all the episodes
why is it that, or is he coming? I heard that. Well, what Rich had mentioned that there's going to be a 60 minutes. I think he mentioned 60 minutes.
tomorrow on 60 Minutes. Yeah,
Is it tomorrow, Sunday on 60 minutes?
Sunday on
Um,
60 Minutes.
well, I'm going to definitely have to check that out. I mean, he's obviously a whistleblower. He worked
Well,
for. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say that he was a whistleblower. From what I've seen, he had worked for for this office in the Pentagon, and I sent you that New Yorker article about it,
Yeah. Yep.
which
I
you haven't
got.
read it.
I'm looking at it right now.
You haven't read it.
I'm.
But
I'm
anyway,
reading. I'm reading. I
you
read
haven't
it.
read
I
it.
read it.
You didn't. I assigned you. I gave you reading. I
You
assigned you
professors.
reading.
You
I
professors are all
assigned you.
alike.
Did not do. You did not do the assigned reading.
That's gonna make you get
Um,
bad grade.
yeah, and
You mark me down. Oh my God.
and I do not take late work
Do your
unless you need a doctor's note.
my dog ate it.
Yeah, it's a good read. I read it yesterday. I had it. I read it yesterday. It's a long read,
Is
but
it the one where now the one I'm looking at? Oh, I brought it up on the computer. It
this is
has
how the
his resignation letter is on there, and
oh
also
no, this is I sent you the New Yorker article. I don't know. When I printed it out, a lot of these pictures didn't come out and stuff. So it's mostly text on mine on
yeah,
my printout.
it's got his resignation letter from um, and it was a pretty. I'll just kind of it's the from the office. Well, the letterhead is the office of the Undersecretary of Defense in Washington. So when he resigned, he and it's interesting. It's been my sincere honor and pleasure to have served with some of America's finest men and women in both peace and in war. For over 22 years, I've been blessed to learn from and work with world class leadership. You certainly you certainly being among the very best. He's writing this to the Secretary of Defense, I'm assuming. With that in mind, bureaucratic challenges and inflexible mindsets continue to plague the department at all levels. This is particularly true in regarding the controversial topic of anomalous aerospace threats. Despite overwhelming evidence of both the unclassified and classified levels, certain individuals in the department remain staunchly opposed to further research in what could be a tactical threat to our pilots, sailors, and soldiers, and perhaps even an existential threat to our national security.
Existential.
I got it. In many instances, there seems to be a direct correlation the phenomena exhibits with respect to our nuclear and military capabilities. The department must take serious the many accounts by the Navy and other services of unusual aerial systems interfering with military weapon platforms and displaying beyond next generation capabilities. Underestimating or ignoring these potential threats is not in the best interest of the department, no matter the level of political contention. There remains a vital need to ascertain capability and intent of these phenomena for the benefit of the armed forces and the nation. For this reason, effective 4 October 2017, I humbly submit my resignation in hopes it will encourage you to ask the hard questions. Who else knows? What are their capabilities, and why aren't we spending more time and effort on the issue? As I transition to a new chapter of my life, please know it has been my honor and privilege, etc., etc. Okay, so is this the modern day Rupelt?
I don't know. Maybe, yeah. You didn't see the movie that he was in? There was also a documentary that came out recently. You haven't seen that?
Nope.
Oh. See, I've been doing all this. I've been doing all this research, and what have you been doing?
Yeah, working.
Yeah. You have important things to do. I can sit around and
Haven't you read this yet? Well, I'm busy running a.
I don't believe that excuse. There's everyone's in the same boat. No, there was a documentary. God, I can. You should look it up. I got too many things here.
Well,
I don't remember what it was called, but it just came out. I watched it. I think it was on Amazon Prime, and he's in it. Did you set that thing I sent? I sent you that thing about the most recent leaked UFO video from the Navy on the Mystery Wire or whatever it was.
Yes, I got that.
So did you watch the little video in that?
No, I didn't see the video.
Oh, there's a little video where these guys are talking, and one of the guys is the filmmaker that did the Bob Lazar documentary, which you've seen.
Oh, Jeremy, the guy Jeremy.
I think that was him, and then the other guy was that they just showed briefly in the video was the reporter that worked with Bob Lazar, and then they showed the video. I'm gonna see if I can talk and do the other. I have too many computers.
So there was, I've got like 2 tablets, a computer, and
I have 2 computers. I got a tablet which I don't have open. I have an extra monitor which I'm not using. I should be using. I'm just going into IMDb. I want to give you the name of the documentary that was just out there.
Okay.
It'll come up. Hang on. Go ahead.
So this guy Lewis. So there are people out there in the Pentagon, etc., that say he had nothing to do with ATIP. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. A couple of people have come out of importance that said he had nothing to do with ATIP, and then Harry Reid.
But you mean people came out and said Luis?
Yeah, he had
Elizondo had nothing. Wow.
Nothing to do with that. And as Harry Reid, and in April 26th, just recently, last month, he put out this memo from his desk to whom it may concern. As the United States Senator Majority Leader, I worked with Republican Senator Ted Stevens of Alaska and Democratic Senator Dan Onoye of Hawaii to secure $22 million of funding for what would become known as the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or an unclassified but unpublicized investigatory effort dedicated to studying unidentified aerial phenomena. As one of the original sponsors of ATIP, I can state, as a matter of fact, Lee Elizondo's involvement and leadership role in this program. Mr. Elizondo is a former intelligence officer who has spent his career working tirelessly in the shadows on sensitive national security matters, including investigating UAPs. As the head of ATIP, he performed these duties admirably. So everybody coming out and saying he had nothing to do with it, Harry's like, yeah, he did.
Yeah,
You know?
I didn't see that. I was just wondering who these people were.
That said he didn't do it?
Yeah.
The people that said he didn't do it, let me see. Christopher Sherwood, the Pentagon spokesman. Well, he's nobody, but he's somebody. But a spokesman for the Pentagon released a statement that says Mr. Elizondo had no responsibility with regard to ATIP. And then from Susan Go, I don't know who she is either. She's probably somebody, but they don't say. This is from the New Yorker. Mr. Elizondo had no assigned responsibilities for ATIP, but apparently Harry said he did.
This was in the article that I sent you?
No, I pulled another one. I saw that one, but then I got another one.
Oh, I didn't see the other one.
So
that's interesting.
And then it's got pictures of him in various places throughout his career. He just, So anyway, I asked. Okay, so he came out. This is so earth-shattering, right? But Rupelt's book, as I'm reading, thank you for sending that to me.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't get through the whole thing because I have to work.
I haven't started reading it. We should talk about our scheduling coming in later on in the show.
Awesome.
We should do that next, I think.
We'll do that. So Rupelt came out. I mean, this book came out in 47. That's Roswell. Came out in the 50s, 1950, right?
1956. I have my copy here. Hang on. Well, the copy that you have came out in 1960s. Yours came out earlier than this one. Yours came out in 1956. The one that I have supposedly came out about 1966, even though it's dated 1956. The one that I have has an extra 3 chapters. So it's a phenomenon.
Wait a minute. The Rupelt one has 3 chapters? No.
The one that I have has an additional 3 chapters.
I would go to those chapters first.
Yeah. Well, I want to read. I haven't read it yet, but I want to read it. And what I can do is I'll send you the book you have has 17 chapters. What I'll do is I'll send you the last 3 chapters.
Okay.
I'll do that. Good. I'll do that this week. Let me make a note. I can't make a note. I have nothing to write with.
That's your assignment.
Or I'll make it here.
So anyway, I did start reading it, and it struck me as I looked at the Elizondo thing that Rupelt already did this, but without the tech. Well, with the tech, but the tech at the time, which was crappy because it was then. But what is Elizondo? What's he going to tell us that we don't already know, Bill?
I don't know. He keeps one of the things he says in his interviews is like people will ask specific questions. They'll say, "Well, what about this? And what do you think about this?" And he goes, and then he falls back on, secrecy, which.
Well, you know what? There's these things they're going to be released soon. I think June.
Well, June 1 is the sort of deadline. June month, I think, is what you should anticipate for the summary or whatever it is from the documents that are supposed to be released. And the background on that is Senator Rubio added a amendment to the defense bill that just passed that requested, it's in that New Yorker article, he requested that all departments go through their records and put together information that they have on UFOs and take those and submit a report to Congress. That's a request. They are not required to give Congress classified material, so don't get your hopes up on that. They are also apparently, I think they've been dragging their feet because there was a report that an inspector general has recently got involved. And what the inspector general did was sent a memo to all these agencies and asked them specifically for a point of contact within the agency about the gathering of this information. Because I think a lot of people have been, a lot of agencies and departments have been slow walking this.
Right.
So now the inspector general doesn't really have much power. And I have a story which I'm not going to tell about an inspector general that it was actually trying to, a little bit, he was actually trying to accomplish a genuine investigation in a federal agency. And the agency wasn't happy with the things that he was diving into, and they just fired him. So the inspector generals are sort of, they're supposed to have some sort of significance, but they can be got rid of when they need to be gotten rid of.
Why can't you tell the story, Bill? Is that the story?
I don't want to tell it.
Why
No,
not?
there is more to the story. It's not a big deal. I'm not gonna tell it. So it's in the past. And it was the inspector general's investigation was critical and it was important and it was squashed. And that's all I'm going to say.
Who are you trying to protect, Bill?
I'm protecting the innocent. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. So
all right.
This inspector general, what he is basically, all that he can do is he's just trying to get the agencies to, get off their ass and get somebody on this stuff that's going to, probably not a lot of people want to do the work because it's got to be record searches, and some of these record searches might just be paper files, which is just a pain these days. So he's the only thing that he can do is report to Congress. He can go back to Congress and say, look, I've asked these agencies, these are the contact people. The contact people are supposed to tell him what they're doing, and then he goes back to Congress and he says, this is what these people are doing, and then Congress can go, okay, so X, Y, and Z aren't following through. We are going to send a letter to that department to ask them to, get off their ass and put somebody on this. So it's not that big a deal, but it makes me think that they were dragging ass a little bit, and Congress had to try and motivate him a little bit. But the degree of motivation, they don't really have to do anything if they don't want to, and they will not release anything that's considered classified. So don't get your hopes up on these documents.
Well, the last documents I've seen were so redacted. Was it redacted? Everything's blacked out. You can't really read anything of significance that's interesting.
Well, Luis Elizondo, actually, I think you're right. He does sort of fall into a role like he's the equivalent of Rupelt in Project Blue Book, and then there was the guy that was after Rupelt. But Project Blue Book, I just read Carl Sagan's biography to sort of get a background. I was interested because I'm looking at some of Carl Sagan's books. And specifically, I was thinking about Carl Sagan. A couple books I'll mention. One of them is I picked up a nice little gem called Communication with Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI with a C, not SETI with an S, which Carl Sagan was involved with. So I wanted to get a background on him to sort of understand the context of these books. And I have the other book, which we've talked about and we're going to do something about, is that there's the UFOs, a scientific debate, which was I don't even know what to call it, a meeting or something with the AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science meeting. They had a section that was called UFOs, a scientific debate that Carl Sagan had organized. So I wanted to read some background on that. But I'm losing my train of thought because I'm talking too much. So anyway, the whole thing is what they mentioned in the. I have my notes on the book. What they mentioned about the um, UFOs in the Carl Sagan biography was, and I'll quote it. It says the Air Force had not taken UFOs seriously for years, but felt it had to keep up appearances to deal with inquiries from UFO titillated members of Congress and their constituents. If UFOs represented an unknown physical phenomenon, Blue Book would never figure it out. So Sagan and the rest of the O'Brien Committee advised the Air Force to commission an independent, full-scale scientific study. The result was the controversial Condon Commission, chaired by noted physicist E.U. Condon. And we'll actually talk about some of that stuff because there's a bit of there was a controversy about the Condon Committee and stuff, which I've been looking into. So Project Blue Book, which I thought the U.S. Air Force had taken a little more seriously, wasn't taken that seriously. So this program that Luis Elizondo may or may not have been involved in was the Defense Department maybe taking this stuff seriously finally. But that said, you saw the released video, or the what do they call it? It's not released. It's the leaked video with the triangles.
Yes.
With the night vision scope.
Yeah, but they said it was because of the filter or something.
Yeah, it's the aperture is a triangle and it's out of focus. It's like why leak crap like that and then try and sell it as something good. I mean,
yeah. So
I don't know what's going on with that stuff. Just to take a step back, I found that movie, the documentary that has I'm pretty sure it has Luis Elizondo in it, and the documentary is called The Phenomenon.
Yeah.
I think. Hang on, let me look again. You could. Oh, here. Yeah. Yeah. It's The Phenomenon.
The Phenomenon. I want to kind of do a real brief timeline, because I found it interesting. I don't know if you
do it.
This. In June of 1947, this is kind of where this all started. The guy Kenneth Arnold. I'm tired of mentioning this guy, but he's the guy who was flying.
Everybody mentions him.
Flying the disc-shaped objects, and he coined the flying. Well, he said skipping saucers, and then flying saucers were a term that was coined after that. But he started. But it's interesting because that he saw those things in June of 1947, and then Roswell was July of 1947. And I want to mention real quick. I don't know if I talked to you about this week, but
yeah, you did. You did
about where they think there's a story that says that the flying saucers in Roswell, the crash in Roswell, were actually designed by the Germans and were built by the Russians and were piloted by genetically altered children.
Yes,
I love a new twist on Roswell.
and the work was done by Mengele.
Yeah.
Is it safe?
Is it safe?
Is it safe?
That's from the movie.
Germans are terrible.
Is it safe?
Yeah, Marathon Man.
Marathon Man, great movie.
Is it
Dustin Hoffman. Sorry, Dustin. Dustin Hoffman.
Safe. You don't know how safe it is.
It's so fucking safe you can't believe it.
Yeah.
So
no, it's not safe. It's not safe at all.
So anyway, we go back to the history, and it's kind of weird, because they had that new twist on what it was. And I'm like, who came out with this story? It's like somebody at first. It's almost.
I got the book. I got the ebook after you told me about that. I want to read it. I'm going to read it.
It's like that'd make a badass science fiction movie.
The context.
It kind of explains why they crashed and had a bunch of kids flying them.
Yeah. Well, if you don't train them to pilot, you're going to have trouble landing. They taught him to fly, but they didn't teach him to land.
Don't fly into a thunderstorm.
Yeah. That book actually looks really interesting. It's the book is Area 51 by Anna Jacobson. She also did a book on Project Paperclip, which I bought. I have the hardback. I got the ebook for the Area 51, and I want to read these. There's 2 Paperclip books out there. I have an older one. I have hers. I'll get to those eventually. You got to realize that with all this crap I'm collecting, I got about a 10-year project ahead of me. So
we'll have enough material. Yeah, we're going to be podcasting
till for a while.
Till our real retirement, right?
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, the movie The Phenomenon came out in 2020. It wasn't bad. James Fox, that's the guy. You're familiar with that?
No. Who's that?
No, I don't know who that is. Bill Clinton, George Knapp. Is that Elizondo in here? I thought he was in here.
It's just weird that I haven't heard of this guy. I don't know.
I've been seeing. Well, see,
it's like it popped up out of nowhere.
I look at the Daily Mail. So he's been mentioned, like the UFO stuff is in the Daily Mail. So it's like I like the Daily Mail. I look at that. So the UFO stuff always comes up on that. So he's been mentioned several times in there. Yeah. So what else about? Oh, we were going back.
Yeah, that's. I just wanted to mention the relationship between the past reporting of and release of information by Rupelt and the current environment of Luis Elizondo's thing here. I mean, he's been all over now. In 60 Minutes is picking him up, and it almost lends a legitimacy when you're on 60 Minutes doing this, don't you think? I mean,
yeah. Well, 60 Minutes is I can remember growing up, that was like a standard Sunday night show that everybody watched.
Well,
not so much these days.
We only had 4 channels, so there wasn't a whole lot to look at,
Yeah. But yeah, that was a standard Sunday night show.
Yeah, I love that. I love 60 Minutes. That 320-minute, it was a 320-minute segments. I haven't seen it in ages.
Yeah. I haven't watched it for
I didn't know it was even still on. I don't see any. I guess I don't watch everything I watch. It's on streaming or.
Yeah, everything is streaming now. I don't watch anything. It's
network television.
Network television. I don't watch. I mean, you're watching Debris. That's a network show.
Yeah. That's a good show. That's actually a really good show.
I'm enjoying it. I like it a lot, and I think it's. I should just for people who are interested, watch Debris. You'll enjoy it. But there was a book called the old Russian movie, which is a classic that many people like, called Stalker. Have you seen that?
No, haven't seen that one.
You should check it out. And it's based on a book called Roadside Picnic, written by a Russian author or a couple brothers or something. And the basic premise is there's this place in Russia where space aliens had landed, and then they left a bunch of trash. And the whole idea is like if you did a roadside picnic, when you got up and left, you'd leave all your garbage.
Right.
But if you're a super advanced space aliens, your garbage is going to be
interesting.
Very
for
strange.
Us.
So debris is sort of like that. And so I'd say Debris is sort of based on or inspired by Roadside Picnic, which is also, I have the book, I've read it, I think twice. The movie is a classic. It's weird. It's worth checking out. And the book is an interesting read.
What is Debris supposed to be? I mean, I've been watching it from the beginning, but I don't understand. Is it an exploded spacecraft or something?
Yeah, I think it's a remnants of a spacecraft.
Yeah, it broke apart and it's falling all over the earth and doing all these weird things.
Yeah, with super advanced technology. So the old axiom is, I don't remember who said this. Might have been Arthur C. Clarke, said that advanced technology is going to be indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
I mean,
it's already like magic. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, if you look at it from the point of view of our parents and our VCR compared to our VCRs, that they couldn't operate.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
now,
my mom could eventually, when the kids refused to help her, she learned
you
to
have to. Yeah, you
program
end
the
up doing.
VCR.
Just look it up on the internet. Oh, there is none. I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, she figured it out. She wanted to record her favorite show. She figured out how to use
Yeah.
it. The kids were like, "Mom, leave me alone." Hey, I'm looking at the cast for the phenomenon. I'm not seeing Elizondo, so I'm not sure. I've watched so many different stuff, but he had a TV show. I think it was on the History Channel or Sci-Fi or something called Unidentified, which he's talking about the same stuff he's been talking about in the news recently, and that came out. That was in like 2019. So he's been around. He's been doing this and talking about this stuff for a while. The show is actually worth checking out. Although I got to say, in that last part of the second season, they do a bit of a walk back, which is something that I've seen a lot in some UFO stuff. Even the New Yorker article that I sent you on how the Pentagon started taking UFOs seriously, towards the very end, they have a paragraph where they walk it back.
Right.
And I would say the Rupelt book with the 3 chapters that were added after he died in 1966, I have a feeling that those 3 chapters are a bit of a walk back. And I'm not sure why that happens, but that seemed to, I think that was something that started in the 70s with the UFO reporting. Because I have a magazine I just inadvertently picked up. It had no cover on it and stuff, but it had a UFO article in it. And you read this article, and 2/3 of the article is like reporting the sightings and all the stuff and speculation. And then the last like 1/4 or 1/3 of the article is just like constantly talking about, the negative aspect about, nutty people, clouds, swamp gas, things like that. So there's a big walk back at the end. But anyway, I mean, I guess that's balanced reporting, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping. I always hope that this June thing is going to actually give us some. Because they've had allegedly had UFOs. We did the Bob Lazar thing and all that. Allegedly we've had UFOs, and we've had UFOs. 47 wasn't the first time the government's had UFOs, allegedly. So
Yeah.
they've had them. I saw an article where we've had since like the 1800s. We done somebody dug one up or something.
Yeah, I have some stuff that's going back that far. I'll get to that in,
Okay.
a year or so. Hey, but I also sent one of the things I also sent you in Phenomena, that documentary. They talk about this disclosure project, and they had a big press conference in Washington D.C. years ago, and they released a document called the Disclosure Project Briefing Document that is 500 pages long.
Holy
And you
crap.
can download it. Yeah, I sent you a link. You can download it on archive.org. And I've loaded it up on my reading iPad, and I will read that eventually. It looks like it's double spaced, so maybe it's not too bad. But there's like the way that I feel about it, it's like I don't know what's going on with UFOs. One of the things that I've got from reading Carl Sagan's biography is he did a interview in something, I can't remember what it was some magazine, might have been Life magazine or something. And the reporter, he was saying that there has to be intelligent life in the universe. It just has to be. And the reporter's like, that's just faith. You don't know that. And he says, not faith, he replied. He goes, it's calculation and extrapolation. And that ties in with like the Drake equation, which is this equation that's people use to sort of estimate the probability of intelligent civilizations in the galaxy, universe.
Yeah,
And
they say the amount of planets in the universe, God, even in not our solar system, but our galaxy or whatever, the amount of planets and moons and everything is more than the grains of sand and all the beaches in the world.
yeah.
I mean, it's like, and then the expanse of space, we've all seen Star Trek, and it's like you can just travel. Where does this? Can you imagine? You just keep traveling in space and it never ends. I mean, the conception. Do you ever think
Well,
about that?
well, it's supposed to. There's supposed to be a size, and it's because of the Big Bang, and then it's like a giant bubble. We're living in a giant bubble.
Well, what's
But then it's
outside the
like,
bubble?
what's outside the bubble? It's turtles all the way down. So it's like you've heard that thing where
You
the
see
world is
Men in Black, where it's like jewelry.
yeah.
And we're
Well,
inside this impendent,
Yeah, well, I love the thing where the world is like this disc and it's on the back of a turtle, and it goes, "What's the turtle standing on?" And it goes, "It's turtles all the way down." So I love that
It's
answer.
the conception that it's like never ending. So anyway, yes, I think I agree. Life, most likely is somewhere else. Is it advanced enough to get here? Well, obviously. Is this? But are these things from another planet? Are they us from the future? Are they? What are they? And
Interdimensional. Don't forget
interdimensional? Yeah.
interdimensional.
Are they piloted or are they drones? Because when you talk about the stress, they say that when they make those right turns or left turns after going 14,000 miles an hour, that they're pulling 600 Gs, which obviously, an F-16, what are they doing? Like an F-16 has structural failure at 17 Gs. And, pilots only, I think 6-7 Gs or something like that, they can survive. So what's in there?
I don't know. Do you remember they used, those rocket sleds where they would put a guy on it and they'd launch it?
Oh, awesome.
And the medical doctor that was in charge of the program would actually put himself on the sleds and have them push it. He says he couldn't in good conscience have someone else do it, so he would do it himself.
And he put a chimp on. Why did they just put a chimp on?
He put himself on it, and the guy, it's just like, I can't remember how many G's he pulled. It might be 100 G's or something insane. And the guy, it messed him up. I mean, not terribly, but it messed him up. But he recovered from it. He's like, well, because he says, well, I can't let anyone else do it, but I think I'll survive it. And it's just like, oh my God, I don't know how many G's he pulled. 50 G's? It's been a while since I read that. But yeah, that's that was the speculation that we were always also seeing in the 50s, where they were talking about these right-hand turns, that they had to be radio controlled. And one of the things, and today, what I find interesting is we're seeing the same parallels, the same stories, the same news sort of stories as we were seeing in the 1950s. And the big thing compared to back then in the 1950s, the big issue was, is this a military threat of some sort? And the conclusion that they were coming up with was, no, we don't believe that this is any sort of military threat. And they would say, no, we do not believe that this is the Soviet Union.
Are we just not releasing information because we don't know we don't have any fucking thing to release because we don't know, we haven't found out anything? Is that possible?
I don't know. The thing that bothers is like that latest leak where they're showing that glowing ball, that round ball that sort of disappears from the scope of that ship. That ship is got all this equipment and all this tracking stuff on it. So we talked about this with the drone stuff. Yeah. They have information or they don't have information, and I don't know what's going on.
Are we scared as a country? Are we scared to say, I just don't know what it is? We're seeing all this shit, but we don't know anything about it. Maybe even if they've obtained craft in Area S4 with the Lazar thing and everything. Have we really found out anything? We've filmed these things. We've captured we've obtained these things. I think we captured them. We've obtained these things. Maybe they've found alien bodies. That would be something that they could release and tell us, okay, Roswell had, we'd forgive everyone now if they just came out and said, yes, we have alien bodies. Here they are. This is what's up there. But is it a religious thing? I mean, is it like,
I don't.
are we, is
You
it
mean,
because of people or religious people will can't handle the fact that maybe there's aliens?
I don't know. That's one of the issues that that came up, and I think that was mentioned in Sagan's biography.
There's got to be a reason if they either have or don't have information, but if they have it, what is the reason that they don't just, oh, because it's secret? Well, it's like, just, we can handle it. Just tell us so we know what's flying around up there and we can just be like, okay, they're not hurting us. Well, unless they were probing us, like like the Betty
Well,
and Barney Hill thing where they're curious or whatever they did, which that was a horrific story if that was true. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We need to. We should talk about abductions in a minute, but I
yeah,
don't see it. I don't see it in my notes here. But one of the things that um, I've seen, and I can't remember exactly where I've seen it, but there's like this concern that the public. This is from the 50s, I think, or the 60s. They're concerned that the public will become dispirited if they find out that there's life elsewhere. And I think there was aspects, the religious aspects, where they were saying, yeah, we don't it will have a religious impact, which I don't understand either. Um, so I don't know. It's and oh, if we want to talk about like life on other planets, did you see that? I think I sent it to you. That thing about that paper that came out about life on Mars.
yes.
Yeah. So this mushrooms on Mars.
Yeah, mushrooms. Yeah, the mushrooms on Mars. Yeah, remember, we have fungus on Mars.
Well, that was interesting because immediately after that came out, there was a bunch of news reports that I saw. They're saying, "Oh, it's a hoax paper," and then they make fun of one of the authors who has like a funny picture on the internet. There's 10
Yeah.
authors on this thing, and there are issues with the paper. And I didn't read it in detail. I just looked it over. But basically, what they're saying is one of their observations. I think is just flat out wrong, and it's obvious. But what they're saying, and this also goes back to early observations of Mars, and even goes back to a paper that Carl Sagan wrote, where they were seeing these changes on the surface of Mars, and they were speculating that these changes were due to plant growth. So that's all these people did in this paper was they've gone through, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of pictures on Mars and said, you can see there are these seasonal changes on Mars, and we think that it is fungus, which fungus is known to be hardy and could potentially survive the conditions on Mars as it currently exists. And that's fine. I don't think that's a big deal. So what I did is I went and I looked at the NASA site, and I looked at the information as reported from the Perseverance, I think it is, not the latest,
But the one before it.
the one before, which is like
Yeah.
the sister to this one. It's also a nuclear powered rover, and it's been running around in some crater for years. And based on the data that this rover has collected, there's more data to suggest there is life on Mars than not. So and the three things that this rover has seen and other things is, one, there's methane. There's a seasonal efflux of methane in the atmosphere. There's a seasonal efflux of oxygen into the atmosphere, which could purely be due to chemical or geological things. But this robot also dug into the clay on the bottom of this crater and found organic molecules, like things that you would find, whatever that could be from or whatever life. So based on that, you can say we don't know that there is life on Mars, but you can definitely say that there is more evidence for life on Mars than not. So it sort of bugged me that they just came out and just slammed this paper and just said, and then the people in the paper saying, well, we're not saying there's life on Mars. It's speculative. But it bugs me that they just came out and all this stuff is coming out. Hoax. No, it's a big hoax. And the only article that I found that gave a reasonable explanation is that some smart reporter actually asked a Australian scientist that was an expert on Mars, And he gave a good explanation for why they're not seeing rapid growth of fungus in their papers because the conditions are so harsh. He goes, you're not going to see growth that in a couple days under those conditions. So, which was a legitimate critique. Anyway, my 2 cents.
When you say life,
yeah.
I mean life. They're just the fungus is the life. I mean, when people
Yeah, it's
automatically jump to, oh, it's people. You know, it's like people or animals. It's not. It's just fungus.
Yeah, it's not rabbits.
It's
not Martian rabbits running around. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, it's perfectly legitimate to speculate that, but I saw nobody saying that. And this is my interpretation. I saw nobody saying the thing. There is more evidence for life. Oh, actually, I sent you that video from PBS Spacetime.
Yes.
And the guy sort of talked about that. He didn't talk about oxygen in the atmosphere. And the information I got was straight off the NASA website. So yeah, my interpretation is that they will find microbial life on Mars eventually. It's going to take a while because it's small and it's hard to see and hard to find. And also, did you see that the Chinese just landed a probe on Mars?
No, they've got one.
Yeah,
They got one on the moon. Haven't they been doing the moon here pretty
Yeah.
regularly? But not manned, right?
They did a moon. They did a moon thing, and they just landed a lander which has a rover on it, and they've landed in Utopia Planitia, which is where the Viking landers were. That the Viking landers also did test for life, but people say they didn't show life, but then there were some papers that came out maybe 10 years ago or so. I read them. It's been a long time. I don't remember. Where they were re-questioning the analysis of the Viking landers' experiments on whether or not there was life on Mars. But the Chinese, the thing that's neat about Utopia Planitia is that supposedly there's a lot of water there, which is what you need if you want to have a manned expedition. So they are... so I would say that they are definitely forward thinking on the future of a manned mission to Mars.
Wow.
So we're in competition. Oh, and the Russians and the Chinese are planning a moon base. So welcome to the future.
Wow.
Anyway, we got a few more minutes. Do you want to briefly talk about what we want to do in a couple weeks? Do you want to do the Rupelt book?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I will send you I'll send you the 3 chapters that your book doesn't have, and then the Gulf Breeze sightings book. You ordered one, didn't you?
Yes.
You got one.
Yes, I've ordered it. It's not here yet.
Yeah, mine's not coming till like next week. So after that, let's do the Gulf Breeze UFO sightings, and that's also an abduction story. And I'm not big on the abduction thing. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid the stuff that looks a little too out there, but this will tie in with the Gulf Breeze 6 stuff.
Okay.
So let's do the Gulf Breeze UFO sightings and abduction. And then after that, we'll do the Gulf Breeze 6 again. Because I got that book. I got it here. Unbroken Promises by Vance A. Davis with Brian Blashaw. And then we can see if there's a relationship between these two different events, because they happened, I think, close in time and space. So it should be that. Maybe we'll see something. Maybe we'll see something interesting. Maybe it'll be a bunch of BS.
Yeah, we can check into it though.
So let's do that for the moving forward into the future. So, another thing, I read that CIA papers book that you recommended.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot there.
Yeah.
It was a good read. It was interesting. There was a report called the Roberts Report. That was a big deal, and basically the CIA. It's like, we don't want to let the world know that we were involved in anything to do with UFOs. And supposedly there was something about them suggesting that there be active suppression of, people that report UFOs, embarrassing them and stuff like that. And then there was a complaint in the papers from Kehoe because CIA, I guess CIA had or has an office in Chicago, and they were sending out agents from their office to talk to UFO witnesses.
Yeah.
And the UFO witnesses were saying that they were being intimidated by the agents to not talk about it. And I think Kehoe was complaining to the CIA, saying, you shouldn't be intimidating. He says, "Are you intimidating witnesses?" And so they're like, "No, we don't do that."
Is that the Men in Black thing?
That might have been part of the origins of the Men in Black, and the so we'll see what happens. I don't know. You're gonna have to play it by ear with that. There's some other stuff I want to think about that, because there's a book by Hynek where there's a chapter on the Men in Black, which I haven't looked at that, and that it's in the pile. So the CIA was basically most of the information in the CIA papers were about overseas reports, because they're supposed to work overseas. But one of the things that I found interesting is there was a guy that had supposedly, he was a chemist that had worked on the Manhattan Project, and he had supposedly intercepted some sort of signal from space, which they kept saying that the analysis had just said it was just a telegraphic signal from somewhere. Right. And the guy kept bugging him, and apparently was driving him crazy, because the guy kept writing him letters and talking to his congressman, and I couldn't find any information on this guy other than that, and I couldn't find any follow up on what he was talking about, so I don't know what's going on with that. But other than that, the CIA papers were pretty much a bust. You got to admire the person that put the book together to go through all this stuff and pull out the most relevant stuff, but there wasn't anything exciting. And I think, so that's what makes me think that this new release of documents, don't get your hopes up.
No.
Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks,
You want to wrap it up?
Yep, thanks for joining me, and the Alien Probe podcast. Thanks for listening. We welcome, first of all, visit us on YouTube. We've expanded into YouTube. It's some will be video in the future. It's all audio right now, but it's a good listen. We welcome the comments, questions, and requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook at alienprobe.net, Twitter at alienprobepod. Thanks to our senior producer, Robert Anthony, and Bill, thanks for joining us. We'll get you next time.
All right. See you.